my great pleasure to welcome everyone this morning to Barclays and all of our panel this morning. Thank you in advance for coming and the support that you're giving along with Barclays to Pride and the hashtag #NoFilter campaign this year. It's our next step here in the UK to continue to support our colleagues to be able to be who they are in the workplace and our customers to be who they are at Barclays. And that's why we think No Filter is absolutely the right campaign. To be able to live with no filter means exactly that, to be able to be yourself.
So I co-chair our employee network for LGBT at Barclays, Spectrum, and I've been involved in organising today. Our executive sponsor for the network challenged the leadership team to say, what are you doing to get the content that you've created and the content of Barclays to our customers? How are we helping those customers on their diversity journeys? So we've begun working with BBH and with Marks and Spencer's, helping them being earlier in their diversity journey with things like creating their staff network or engaging senior allies. And then working with Mark, we came up with the idea of saying, can we talk through how that's gone and find out a little bit more from our clients on the panel, how they are doing in terms of progressing the diversity narrative within their businesses, and then have that conversation with other customers. We're hopeful that you'll have maybe your own light bulb moment during the discussion.
BBH was founded in 1982, and the symbol of BBH is a black sheep. Its logo is a black sheep, so it embraces difference. It stands for difference. Why would a company which stands for difference need a group that promotes difference? Surely it's in the DNA of the company, and it is. As with many companies, what they stand for and what the reality is are sometimes two different things. Not consciously, but you've got white, heterosexual, upper middle class men running the show. And for an advertising company which has to speak to society, how on earth could it get to the best ideas without acknowledging that it's shortfalls?
People have an enormous amount of pride in M&S, I think customers and employees. People genuinely want M&S to do well because it's a British brand, and our employees are willing us to, come on M&S, we can do it, and our customers say the same to us. So we're lucky in that we've got a good starting point, and we have a reputation as being a really ethical employer, and our sourcing and the way that we treat people is really fair and respectful, and everyone's very proud of that. The world is changing, our customers are changing, our employees are changing, and they expect more from us as an employer.
I grew up in Holland, I'm Dutch, and I guess in the 70s when I grew up, there wasn't much of a taboo about being gay in schools, and I was very lucky to kind of grow up in an environment, both family-wise as kind of country-wise, that was, let's say, quite advanced and quite liberal around this. But my career brought me to the Middle East and Asia, so I lived in countries where being gay was illegal, or at best not talked about. Coming to the UK, I guess I find myself somewhat in the middle. And lots have been done here, but lots more to do. But the key thing for me was it's not good enough to be just a passive sponsor. Just by making a statement that you're supporting LGBT is not enough. So I felt passionate that's where I wanted to spend my time. So that's really what my focus is, to help our network go external, and great events like this with Barclays and Pride are just wonderful things to be part of.
This past year has been really interesting, and I think we probably all agree that the topic of diversity has just totally shot up the agenda right across the world. And I think we're at a really special time at the moment where companies actively want to have diversity as part of their outward-facing creative in advertising. So we always push the limits and try and push clients to do more brave work. But I think recently, many clients are far more open to that. Many clients who you would typically associate as quite sort of stuck in their ways actually are far braver. There's a nervousness at maybe a junior level and mid-level. The moment you start speaking to senior management, I think that's the key thing, it's senior management. They just are like, it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't we do this?
One of the things that we did this year, because we felt we were really behind in Thomson Reuters in particular senior role models. So we ran a program together with Stonewall, actually just last week, where we really try to bring forward the importance of senior role models, because that's going to make the difference. And we had a particular lens on that, not just to have the male gaze, but really try to be much more inclusive. And I hope that's going to make a difference, but it needs harder work.
We've done a lot of work with our line managers around inclusive leadership, and when you're a new joiner, your biggest impact is those few people around you and your line manager. So it's all about those first interactions. So we've done a lot of work with line managers, the network groups, but also role models. And we definitely haven't nailed this yet. But the more visible and out senior role models you have, the more people can see people that they relate to. And we haven't done loads on that yet, but I do think it's really important.
Even if you have an LGBT network and you're saying all the right things, the new employee comes in and looks at her or his manager and the senior management, because that's where they get their bearings from, not necessarily from the network in the beginning, because you're like, well, they might be saying that, but what does it mean for me personally? So one of the things, for instance, we do new starter lunches. I will always, at everyone, speak about this and speak about the diversity and inclusion, and to set the scene that it's okay, right? Because I always talk about it. Right after this, we're doing a town hall for all staff in the UK with our CEO, Jim Smith. It's being recorded and it will be on all the networks and everything else. One of the things we will be talking about is this. And it is setting the tone, as you said, and doing very, very particular things and specific things to do this. And I expect, frankly, in Thomson Reuters, every people manager, when they get new people in, to bring up the topic in a very natural way, that this is the way we work and this is it. And just to open it up.
So we are an inclusive place to work and very proud of how we treat our employees. We just started to make some statements around this is really important to us. We've joined Stonewall. We want to listen to you and hear what you've got to say around how inclusive M&S is. So we have an internal employee council, and it's called BIG, Business Involvement Groups. And we had never had any other employee network. So when I was meeting other employers, they would tell me about their gender network, their race network, their LGBT network. And I was like, I don't understand why we don't have any of these networks. And partly it was because we have BIG, and people thought, we've got BIG, so if we've got any questions or problems, then we go to our BIG representative. And partly our senior leaders thought, well, perhaps people are just very happy and not that bothered about having an employee network or somewhere to connect with others. I started to reach out to a couple of people I knew just to say, I know you're really passionate about this topic. What do you think about having an employee network? I know a couple of other people. We could introduce a bit of a working group. And as soon as I did that, there was this huge passion and enthusiasm for, oh my gosh, we can have an employee network. How do we do that? What do other businesses do? And I think people just hadn't realized that they could, or we had to almost give them permission, and now they're running with it.
I'm the new person. I walk into the office. How do I know that the colleague community around me are going to be friendly and be embracing of diversity and inclusion? And one of the ways that we've achieved that in Barclays is through things like these lanyards. So Marks and Spencer's watch, this is the new fashion accessory in Barclays offices, campuses. We can't get enough of these. You know, colleagues see these and they want to be part of it. And, so for a new person walking into an office, they will see lots of colleagues walking around with these lanyards, or with our badges as well, which we give out to all of our members that sign up to the network. So there is that, and we have tent cards in addition that people can put on their PCs. So for anybody walking into any of our offices, they've got a real physical sense of, oh my goodness, okay, that rainbow is everywhere. This is definitely a friendly place to work.
We're trying to kind of push it out to our customers as well, and also to our suppliers. So we do ask the questions. Mm-hmm. For instance, very recently, I spoke to all our headhunters and employment services companies that we work for, and literally said, tell me what you're doing, and tell me what you're doing to help us to get more diverse. Because I think that's one of the key things. We say a lot about how important it is, and we all agree that. We all see the McKinsey statistics, and we all have that. But what are we actually doing? So one of the things that we did in Thomson Reuters was every single people manager has a people goal. A lot of companies will have that. We have that diversity in there. To share with you, when we did a mid-year review of my team, we discussed the succession planning. Guess what? Their slates were not diverse. And I basically put everybody on watch saying, you're going to fail this objective, which you will feel in your bonus by the end of the year, because you're not taking it seriously. And I think that's where we have to go. And it's the same with the RFPs. You have to put it in there. Let's be much more explicit.
I think we're at a very different place in that we're setting up our networks from nothing, but in some ways that's an advantage because it means that we can make them inclusive from the start. So we've just launched a series of inspiring speakers. So every month we have a different speaker come in, either internal or external, and we use those to promote them across all of our networks. And we recently had one a trans woman, and she was telling her story just very honestly, openly, and lots of people from our LGBT group and from our women's network came along to that, and they actually said it was the best one they'd been to. So it's really great. I mean, the power of storytelling is amazing.
We have colleagues that could be in a branch downstairs, in a skyscraper in Canary Wharf, in a call centre in Wavertree, in a skyscraper in South Africa, in a call centre in Nevada. We have colleagues across diverse businesses all over the world, working in jurisdictions who are either very accepting of LGBT or it's illegal. How do we go about connecting with colleagues with that as the backdrop?
So I think there's two questions in that, James. And one is, how do we connect with colleagues? And that is what we do. We promote globally, right, within the law of the countries in which we work. And I use that as a qualifier because one of the things we will not do is in countries where homosexuality is illegal is put our colleagues at risk in any way. So we are very temperate about what we can and can't do in country, but we also have a global view. We rolled out our Straight Allies campaign, again, globally. Our Spectrum network does a great job of reaching out to colleagues all over the world and pushing out information and communication. And then we work in country, with leadership in country, with government relations in country, at just the right level to continue to help our colleagues feel welcome, our customers to feel welcome, but within the law of that country. With government relations is really about nudging society forward, and it has to be that partnership.
We founded BBH Proud, and I guess it is fairly new, but its ambition is to, when briefs come through the door, instead of having sometimes all-white heterosexual group talk about a brief that is, say, looking at the gay community, why don't you have a group of people who live it, feel it, have grown up with it, and they are best placed to advise and just push through an agenda of equality and diversity.